June 29, 2014. We've been watching this low pressure system move off the coast of Carolina. Now they're giving it a 60% chance of tropical cyclone formation. So satellite wind data and surface observations indicate that the low pressure system, located about 230 miles east of St. Augustine, Florida, is gradually becoming better defined as it moves slowly southward to southwestward. Guys, that's key because that's moving it into the Gulf Stream, which is much warmer, about 10 degrees warmer. It says, although upper-level winds are only marginally favorable, a tropical depression is expected to form during the next day or two. However, the system's proximity to dry air could inhibit significant development until environmental conditions become more conducive. That's by late Tuesday when the low meanders offshore the Florida East Coast. The Air Force Reserve reconnaissance will be they're setting up a schedule now. Listen, within the next 5 days, 80% chance. I don't think it's going to wait that long. It never does. But this is unusual. It's moving south into warmer water. Every storm we've seen this year across the U.S. Now let's look off the west coast, guys, and off Mexico. You've got tropical depression already formed, moving northwest. Also, one behind it that has a 30% chance of formation, 50% chance in 5 days. Now, if they continue that path, they will move out over the Pacific. They could curve back in, and to be honest with you, California and southern Arizona could use the rain. Now, let's look at the visible satellite imaging. Check this out. Now, again, it doesn't look that strong now, but guys, it's not moving north into cooler water as they normally would. It's moving south. And this particular area that it's moving into can be dangerous this time of year or any time during the summer. But if you remember last night, it appeared to be moving more in a westerly direction that was going to bring it in over the Space Coast at Cape Canaveral. Now it's moving more south. You see that? The direction is more southward. So it's, again, getting into warmer waters. Now, here's something key. Notice over the Florida Peninsula, that outer band is starting to mix with warmer air coming up from the Gulf. What that's going to do, check this out, as it's coming off the very tip of Florida into the Gulf, that's going to move into the feeder bands of the system. There will be no land in between it. And also, guys, notice the lack of upper wind shear. And that's going to be a key component to the direction of the storm. Check this out. Your lines of convergence are meeting right over South Florida. And if you remember last night, they were coming west across the Cape Canaveral area into the Gulf. So everything shifted. You see this? So the steering currents have changed. Look at the spaghetti model. This is what they're predicting, coming into Florida, then curving back. We've seen these models change. Look at the one that has one coming into New York, just one. That was Hurricane Sandy, guys, a couple of years ago. Same thing here. Now, Sandy did not get strong until it was in this section of the Gulf of Mexico. And remember, this storm is still moving south into that area. Let's look at the gust. You can see they're strongest just north of Cape Canaveral in that area. But again, the storm's moving north. And what's kind of strange about this is that would be the northwest quadrant of the storm, depending on going by its movement, guys. That's always the strongest. Notice 84 degrees temperature, 94 here. There's a 10 degrees difference. And we're pulling that outer band off of the tip of Florida. Very warm, 10 degrees warmer with a lot of moisture is going to be feeding into the storm. Now, what other storms in recent history have formed and got strong in this area? This one has. In the yellow line is a tropical storm. Green was depression. Then you start getting into major hurricanes. This was a little later in the year, but still that area, as it comes into that part of Florida where those lines converge, can be deadly. This was Katrina. It became very strong. I'm not saying this is going to become another Katrina. What I'm looking at is the history of this area of the world. When we start getting into the south tip of Florida, off the east coast, and you get into that Gulf Stream, you have two different things that can happen. Now, I remember very well because I was right under where that blue arrow was and had 120-mile gust here and no electricity and water for 2 weeks. Now the other scenario, and that's what the spaghetti models are showing, that it will curve back up. Now what was the last strong storm that got very powerful in this area, right where we're looking at now? It happened there. It got very strong. The spaghetti model showed that it would initially move back off into the Atlantic and die off, but it did not, and that was Hurricane Sandy. Again, I'm not saying this storm will become a Katrina or a Sandy. I'm looking at the history of this section of the Gulf, and we're in very strange weather. We've been talking about the extreme pressure on the atmosphere. We've been looking at the bombardment of the solar flares, and there's not one event on this earth that happens without the sun causing it. Check this out. Again, guys, watch this area. Now, as I was finishing the video, another email came in from USGS. That's a 6.7. That's 2 today, very strong from this area. But we're watching it, guys. This is a heads up on the storm. Be safe.